The topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4WN Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4WN Radio.
Welcome to Success Secrets Exposed with Sally A. Curtis, where we share stories of challenge, success, and inspiration along with practical tips and strategies to move you forward to your success. And now, here's your host, Sally A. Curtis.
Good morning, good evening, and good day to you all. Just a quick mention too, in a celebration for all of the listeners, and with great appreciation, to let you know that we have actually just been voted in the top 50 Australian female podcasters. So thank you very, very much to everyone that has supported the show to date. Just wanted to share that celebration with you. So those that are new to the show, my background is as a marketing strategist. I specialise in content repurposing for speakers, coaches, and consultants. And it's my role to help you amplify your voice, your message, and your impact. And I have a very, very special guest on the show today, Nancy Matthews, who's going to be talking about the One Philosophy. She's actually a leadership, sales, and marketing expert, also an international speaker, a best-selling author, and she's fondly known as the visionary with guts. And this is because of her willingness to be a trailblazer and to bust through challenges and obstacles, turning them into excessively successful advantages. She brings more than 30 years of experience in showing you how you can love what you do and the money will follow. She has an exceptional genuine care, which you'll actually get to experience on the show today. And her mission statement, which I really love, is every day she appreciates, educates, and elevates. And as a result, she's actually created not one, but $2 million businesses and makes an absolute positive impact on thousands of lives. She's shared the stage for those in Australia that know these names: John Maxwell, Jack Canfield, Zig Ziglar, one of my favourites, Les Brown, Seth Godin, and Sharon Letcher from Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So without any further ado, please help me welcome to the show, Nancy Matthews.
Hello, hello. Thank you, Sally. And oh my goodness, congratulations on being the top female podcast in Australia. Top 50, you said?
Yeah, in the top 50.
Wow.
So we're actually number 45, but it's but with very, very good company, but great celebration.
That is huge. Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'd love to share with the audience, because I know you've got such a great success story and been through trials and tribulations like most of us. Can you tell us a little bit about your backstory, the warts and all, and then how that came about to the One Philosophy?
I love it. The warts and all. Don't we all have warts? So, yeah, I would say my business background was combined with my personal background in an interesting way. So, I wanted to be a lawyer. That was my dream when I was a kid. Yeah. So I went to college and I moved down to Florida from New York. And I was like, well, before I go get a job in a law firm, before I go to law school, let me get a job in a law firm to see if I even like it, before I go and invest all this time and money. So I get a job at a law firm. It's in Fort Lauderdale in the early 80s. And if you know anything about Fort Lauderdale, Florida in the early 80s, it was party town. And I fell right into having a really, really good time and being a little bit careless. I would say that I lost sight of my goal at that time. And as a result of some carelessness, I got the best gift in life. And I got pregnant, decided to have my son on my own when I was single. And that kind of put going to law school on the shelf for a while. So I stayed in the legal field for many, many years, decided to go back to law school about 15 years later. And then my grandmother died, and then something happened. So it was interesting how I consistently got derailed from that ultimate goal, and all for good reason, because I know that I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing. I love my life. I love what I get to do every day. So that's kind of the backstory, pieces of it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I find it interesting with those, and I know we've talked and shared a little bit about those. As you get derailed and as you have those setbacks, it's almost those little nudges to go, hey, this is where you're meant to be. You're meant to be over here. This is this place that you serve from. So how did you really get to experience and understand that was in actual fact the right path? Because lots of people have those nudges and go sort of sit there with 2 feet in either side going, should I, shouldn't I?
Well, you sit there with your 2 feet on either side going, shouldn't or shouldn't I? And sometimes you're like, why is this happening to me? How come? Why are these obstacles coming in my way? And it was a long time before I could look at what was happening in the present that maybe wasn't so pleasant, to be able to look at what's happening right now with the same type of insight that we get from hindsight.
Hindsight, yes.
Right. So if we can find insight in the moment, the same way that we have hindsight, because when you look back on things, you're like, oh, that's why that happened. Now I get it. When we're in the midst of the storm, we can't always recognize it. And, in fact, with the whole pandemic, there were so many things, gifts that came out of it, and lots of tragedy. I'm not minimizing the difficulties by any lengths. But when you can look at every circumstance to find what is the next good step, what's the gift inside of, the not so good stuff that can come your way, that takes practice. It takes some emotional maturity. I went through lots of struggles and stomping my feet and feeling not good about myself. So it's been a process, and it still is.
I think you've used a couple of really good phrases there. There's the practice and the ability to see things or see something every day. And I think that for me stems from having read and sort of gone through the parts of the process of the One Philosophy. It's that practice. So talk to us a little bit more about some of those daily practices, and then lead into the One Philosophy as well.
Sure. So I have been a proponent and practitioner of journaling since, oh my gosh, probably 35 or 40 years now. And I first used it as an outlet when my life was terrible. Like, it was miserable. Like, I was in a bad marriage. He was an alcoholic and lots of other things. I had young children. I was codependent, didn't know how to get out of this. And the therapist I was seeing at the time recommended journaling, or I read a book and it said, try journaling. So my journaling in the beginning was a release for all the not so good stuff that I was experiencing. And as I did that, and this is really a daily practice, which I've continued to this day, is starting your day off with an intention of it being a good day. Like, I want to bring my best. Like, we get the chance every morning that we wake up to have a fresh, clean slate. Yeah, we might be carrying some baggage from what's going on or what you have to deal with during the day, but find ways to say, I'm going to deal with this from the perspective of compassion. I'm going to deal with this from the perspective of love. I'm going to deal with this from strength. I'm going to deal with this from peace. I'm going to find a habit. Like, make it a point to at least start your day in that way. And of course, gratitude is a big practice, because that will shift you. If you can find something to be grateful for, it lifts you up out of what's not so good, even if just by a little bit. And I know that you practice these things too. I know.
Yeah, I do. I've just actually brought in another one. I actually have a rant files journal where I rant everything to get
Love
it out, and then
Yeah.
I've got my normal journals that's just on the desk on the other side. But that rant journal where I just need to jot
Get
things
it out.
down.
What
is
I, what I,
definitely-
what I do with those is I call it a fun list. And I write down everything that's messed up and not nice, FUN, if you know what I mean. And I just write everything down, all the nasty stuff. And I like to tear it up after I write it or
I think
burn it. Those are
I'll
fun
burn
things
it.
to do too.
Yeah, fun things to do.
Yeah.
Now, when you were talking about the your journaling and the intention setting for the
Mhm.
day, I actually noticed that you actually referenced it as a single word.
Mm. That's part of one of the practices that I do is, who do I want to be today? Who do I choose to be? How do I want to show up? And I will often pick 1 to 3 words as, what's the essence of how I want to show up today? And that's really helpful.
And I think that also going to, I think that ties into one of your phrases that I hear you say, and I was just written in my notes from your book was, what do you want to bring into your life?
Mm-hmm.
Is the question, because you ask that question a lot.
I do. Yeah. What do you want to bring? You get to choose. Do you want to bring, worries and fears and doubts, or do you want to bring hope and optimism and opportunities, possibilities? Right. And listen, I get it. When you're in the midst of a really bad storm, it's not so easy to see those things. So you got to start with little things. And, this show is all about success secrets exposed. So all of us, as you've said, face challenges, obstacles. Problems is the one thing that will probably never go away. Right? There's always going to be problems.
Yeah.
It's how we deal with them that determines the quality of our lives. And getting good at that, being able to respond in a way that feels better for you and those around you, that's where a daily practice comes into play. John Maxwell, you mentioned before, who is an amazing leadership expert. He's written probably 80 books on leadership by now. And he often says that true leaders develop daily.
Oh, nice.
And the reason that leaders develop daily, they need to develop daily, is that when you think about it, leadership happens in the moment. So while leaders develop daily, but leadership happens in the moment. So how are you going to lead now in the midst of this storm?
So very, very relevant. Yeah, that's very powerful. That's really hit me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, wow. That's beautiful.
That's why I think another John Maxwell phrase is every day you're either preparing or repairing. And if we prepare, if we get ourselves ready, if we get our mindset and our emotions conditioned to choose intentionally certain ways of being that you want to show up as, when we prepare in that way, there's a lot less repairing that needs to happen. And that, really dovetails with what the One Philosophy is all about. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the One Philosophy for those that are yet to discover it.
Yet to discover it. And I trust that you will. It's a great little book with the message that treat each and every person that you meet as the one. And here's let's go deeper into that. If you think about someone who you think is the one, the next best client, the person you're going to marry, somebody who's going to give you a hookup to get tickets to a show or whatever it is, they're the one. When we think we're in the presence of somebody who's the one, do as beings pay more attention, we place more value on them, we listen more closely, like we care more about that person than someone who we don't know yet, a stranger at a networking event, at the supermarket, whatever it is, because we think that they can actually do something for us, we tend to place a higher value on them. And when I had discovery about myself and my own behavior, I was like, well, that doesn't feel good. I know everybody matters and everybody has value. So I just started a little experiment of treating each and every person I meet with that same level of excitement and enthusiasm, and really valuing them, being curious just to find out who they were and why the universe conspired to bring us together in that moment. And through that experiment, so many beautiful miracles unfolded, one after another after another. And I was like, wow, this is really how we're meant to be with each other. And it's the golden rule, and it's treat others as you want to be treated. And every religion has an aspect to it. It's Ubuntu. I am because you are, and we are all, like, we're all so connected. And when I share this message of the one philosophy, which I've been doing for well over a decade now, the audience, just like, everybody sitting here watching, you're like, yeah, I get that. I love to be that way. I am that way. And I bet you are. Chances are, if you're watching this show, you're someone who does treat people as the one most of the time.
Yeah.
Right. It's who we want to be. That's the best of us that we want to be. I want to be able to be love and kindness to everyone I meet. Right. We do want that. And then I, thought about, well, what happens? How come we don't? Well, because we're worried, because somebody took advantage of us. That person stole for us. And we watch the news and we see liars and thieves and people we can't trust everywhere we go. And of course, we're going to put up guards and shields. So part of what the book provides is a framework for who you're being, what you're bringing to the table, so to speak, in order to be the one that starts this. Because when you do, everyone around you will respond. Sometimes it takes longer than others to get them to open up. And that's okay. That becomes part of the game for me anyway.
Yeah. That's just loving that, because part of that, I see that as, and describe that here in Australia as ripple effects. It creates or domino effects. It's the ripple effects. Now, I remember when we were talking originally that you had I'm going to ask you about the big goal as it relates to sort of the number of people that you're wanting to impact in the book and all those sorts of things. Can you share a little bit about that? I know it's deeply personal, but share a little bit about that so we can help create the ripple effects for you.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I'm not sure which aspect of one of my dreams or goals you're referring to.
Okay. You'll mention the right one.
Well, it'll all be perfect. Yeah. So, my vision is a world where everyone does treat each other as the one. And, how many billion people on the planet? I do believe that we'll be able to get to that. And it starts with me and you. So if we show up this way, and then our families are impacted, and we're being a demonstration for our children, our siblings, the people we work with, it just happens one at a time. And that's where the message just needs to keep expanding. And I created a new program, and it's called the People Skills Academy. And through the People Skills Academy, we provide the tools, the mindset, and the skill set to equip you to show up to be the one for everyone.
And one of the call it phrases or little catch points when I was looking further into the People Skills Academy was that 90% of stress, conflict, fear, worry, strife, sadness, all those sorts of things is caused by the interactions that we have, and I'm going to use the we have with other people. So can you unpack that a little bit for us so people can sort of see themselves as that change, or where they are now and where they'd like to be, as we started to discuss?
For sure. So think about this. I want you to kind of run your memory over the past week, let's say, and every time you got irritated, ticked off, upset, disappointed, hurt, angry, was there another human being involved? I would say minimum of 90% of the
Yeah.
time there was. And when we can have better communication and interaction with each other, then we get to have a better life, and less of that will happen. So here, an example of this is I just moved into a new home. There were lots of moving parts. A lot of things went well, and a few things didn't go so well. And I said to my friend, I was like, moving is an opportunity for spiritual growth. And here, right? But here's the thing: if we can look at all of those struggles we go through as an opportunity for spiritual growth, how can I be calm in the face of what's going on? Or how can I have my fit and my temper tantrum because I didn't have internet in my new home for 4 days? And I could blame somebody else, but I didn't check the cord before I moved in, right? Our toilet's backed up this morning. Come on, you can't make this stuff up. Like, really?
Yeah.
And what I will say is, rather than, yes, I got a little upset, or I was, out of sorts, so to speak, but rather than always being upset and angry when everything like that happens, and those things are going to happen, I got to tell you, the cable person worked so diligently to make sure everything was connected properly. He was nice, he was courteous, he took great care of us. The landlord where I'm renting right now, within 2 hours, had a plumber out here fixing the problem.
Yeah.
So the way you treat others turns into the way that they treat you. So part of what the people skills is designed to do is to give us better skills to equip us to deal with, challenges that come up. And there are people that you're going to run into who are going to be nasty and not nice. Like there's a whole variety of people out there. And if somebody's angry and yelling, and you get angry and yell, chances are there's not going to be a resolution.
Yeah.
But if somebody's angry and yelling, and you can listen with compassion and remove yourself, they're just feeling pain and hurt. They're not, there's a lot to it. There's a lot to it.
Oh, beautiful. Peter, one of our regulars, hi, Peter, has just said,
Yes.
every problem hides an opportunity waiting to be discovered.
Yes, it does. If you're looking for it, or if you're just saying, oh my God, look at this problem. Look at this problem. I know or shift, like Peter says, there must be an opportunity. If there's a problem, there must be an opportunity. Cause and effect, right? I love that.
Yeah. And that just reminds me of talking about the cause and effect as a bit of not a recap, but a bit of a scenario as it relates to the one philosophy. You have a phrase which I'm just glancing at because I've just written it down. Your role is to be the one. Your role is to be the cause, and the effect takes care of itself.
Yes.
Which is what you were just describing.
Yeah. Well, and let's, if I can, let's talk about philosophy relates to business a little bit.
Please.
Because when you treat every person you meet as the one, and you're really listening to them, not planning what you're going to say, rehearsing your script in your head, but you're really listening, you now have the opportunity, number one, to build a true connection. And we know that people will do business with people they know, like, and trust. And when you listen to people, they feel valued, they feel heard, they feel that you care about them. And that's what we all want. I want to know that you care about me before I give you a check, whatever the business is, right? And our sales, we've purchased things and it felt like we just got sold and they didn't care about us or take care of. Like, that's the old sales model that has so many people resistant to selling. But when you start as the business owner or consultant, coach or speaker, whatever that is, with a true care for the other person, and you listen, the beautiful thing is you create this place for the other person to feel safe enough to tell you what they really want.
Yeah, that bubble.
Right. And when you know what they really want, because if you created this bubble of safety, if you have a product or service that can have them get what they want, they will buy it from you. So we've got to start by being the cause, being the one who demonstrates love, care, and compassion and curiosity for other people. The effect will be, especially in a business type of a conversation, you display those, you emanate those feelings and emotions. The person will feel safe, will let their guard down. We're all walking around with our guard up, right? Because we have all those hurts and right. So the way you dissolve that is with caring. You dissolve that, then their authentic self, their true desires can show. And then if there's a match, you've got business.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
And part of that, I suppose, from your experience as it relates to having been in that leadership space for such a long time and in that sales space, and you would have really noticed the shift that's occurred now, going from that old sales model of what I refer to as force through flow. Can you share some? Yeah, thank you. Share some of the stories, because I've heard some of the success stories within your community, but can you perhaps reference some of the stories where you've seen people transform in that sort of sales scenario?
Oh, yeah. So Christina, for example, who you probably met when you were doing the momentum with us. So Christina, beautiful, spirited, soulful woman who's a photographer, and she's been an event photographer for many, many years. And she also has a gift and a skill set around guiding people to find their soul's purpose. So she was pivoting into doing more of that rather than the photography, and didn't like picking up the phone or getting on Zoom and having sales conversations, right? The sales conversation, the phone is so heavy, I don't want to pick it up, right? So we, guided her in the process of showing up as the one, being interested and asking lots of questions to find out about this other person, not questions that are like, do you want to buy my thing? You need to find about what's happening for them and in their lives in order to make an impact. So she followed this process that we taught her at a 2-day training that we did, a sales and marketing boot camp. And within 4 days, she had brought in $3,000 of new money in a brand new business.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, right. I had another client who, and this is a tip for everyone that I encourage and invite you to go do. Because most people hesitate making sales calls. You don't want to be sleazy. You don't want to be pushy. And I don't want you to be that either. I want you to be the one who cares.
Yeah.
I want you to pick up the phone and care about somebody, whether it's somebody you met at an event, a client you haven't talked to in a while, or perhaps even an old friend who you haven't connected with. Just pick up the phone and call and see how they're doing. One of my favorite personal stories around that was back in 2009, I was working on my first book called Visionaries with Guts, and it was an anthology book, and I invited others to contribute to it. So I was working on it. I was very excited about the project, and I called one of my best friends since I'm 5 years old, and I was just calling her to see how she was doing. So I was like, hey, Karen, how are you doing? What's happening? Tell me what's going on. She told me about her life. And then what do you think she did?
Asked you about yours.
Exactly. And I said, oh, wow, things are going really good. The kids are great. And this is happening. And oh my gosh, I'm working on this project and I'm so excited about it. It's Visionaries with Guts. And I have all these authors. And she's like, really? I want that. I did not call with any thought or notion about selling her. I called because I cared. Now, there's a technique to this, and it involves that practice piece we talked about earlier and setting intentions. I was genuinely connected to and passionate about this project I was working on. So when I got asked, what's new with you? I didn't say, oh, I had Thai food for dinner last night.
Yes, and don't we all default to that too?
I know, which I did, by the way. It was very good. No, I shared the thing I was most excited about. So here's the second tip. Do your daily intention setting, pick up the phone. I guess it's the third tip. Reach out to somebody and connect and be excited about what's happening, what you're bringing forth through your business. And in this way, you're now being the one for your own vision.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Wow.
Fun.
That's very, very good, because I hear it so often, and I know I've defaulted, which is why I wanted to bring it up. When you do catch up with somebody like that, you can tend to be flippant and do default to the, oh, what have you been up to? Oh, not much, blah blah, and I've just had Thai food for dinner and all those sorts of things. But you could have actually achieved or accelerated growth in a certain way, or helped somebody out. That all ties into that big vision that we have, but we don't. And I'm very guilty of this, is I'm going to use the word diminish, but that seems too harsh. But in the, you tend to sort of flick those sorts of things off versus actually birthing them or bringing them forth, as you said, which is why that's resonated so much for me. And it's not necessarily bragging, but it's actually it's voicing what you're actually passionate about, and it's being the one for your vision.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And sometimes we can forget, and sometimes that passion or fire can go out, especially if you've tried a few things and they haven't worked out the way that you hope. You sent out that email and you were going to make all this money, or so many people were going to respond, and you got, many unsubscribes instead. Like, there are things that happen that can deflate us, which is why leaders develop daily.
Yeah.
Why we have a practice. And that is the most important piece, is before you turn on the news, before you pick up the phone and scroll through your email and social media and everything, give attention to yourself, your spirit, your soul. Who do you want to be today? We get to choose. And that's part of being the one. So there's 6 principles to support you in living the one philosophy. And, I trust you'll get the book and you'll dive into it. I've got some great techniques to help us at those times when you run into those challenging people, right? Because they're out there.
Yes.
And remember, everything is an opportunity for growth, right? And problems are opportunities. Thank you, Peter, for that one, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So one of the principles in the one, and this ties to business, it ties to your family relationships and your friends. In order for people to really connect with you and trust you, trust is the biggest currency. In order for people to trust you, you've got to be authentic. You've got to walk your walk and, walk your talk. The principle that I teach in the book is called exhibiting exemplary behavior. So think about someone, a famous person, or someone in your family or in your business life that you really admire. Is it really the amount of money they make or the car they drive? Or is it who they are? Wow. And particularly who they are in times of challenge? That when you can exhibit that behavior most of the time, and when you make a mistake or don't hit a deadline, you own up to it. We all know when somebody's BSing us. Oh, I said that the other day. No, you didn't. You're breaking trust.
Yeah.
Take responsibility. I'm so sorry. You know what? I totally messed that up. I apologize.
And that's straight away, you can feel the difference in that energy straight away, just in you sort of role playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. And
Yeah.
it takes practice, and we're not practiced at this. From the time we were 3 years old playing in the house and we broke the lamp and we're like, I didn't do it. Right. Right. That's where this stuff got developed from. Right. And they're through no fault of our own. We're all in this, practice session of making it through life as best as possible.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. I'm going to ask a question now, as it relates to I'm going to call it the sales questions.
Okay.
One of my mentors years ago always talks about having the ability to ask really great questions. Mm-hmm. And you've talked about the sales process being different and that level of care. So what's one of your favorite, I'm going to call it a care sales question, when you're having that discovery call, when you are in that sales process and you're exhibiting all the exemplary behavior, what is an example of a good sales care question?
There are phases of a sales process that we guide people through, and I call it the anatomy of the sales process. Mm-hmm. And in each of those phases, there are different types of questions to ask. Mm-hmm. So in the first phase of the process, you're going to ask questions that are about their life and or their business in general. Mm-hmm. So for example, I might say, oh, Sally, it's so good to connect. And there's a distinction between a discovery call where the person knows that this is a consultative call, if you do a free complimentary session or something like that, as opposed to I'm just calling to reach out and reconnect with you. There's a little bit of a cadence difference in both of those. Yeah. But if it was a discovery call process, I start off with, what would you most like to get from our time together today? Or do you have a pressing question? Mm. If there are coaches, consultants listening to this right now, and you do discovery calls as a part of your process for bringing in new clients, start every single conversation with that sentence. Yeah. Is there something that you'd most like to get from our time together today? Or do you have a burning question? What that does, which I'm sure you can get, is it now when they tell me, it lets me respond to exactly what they want. Yeah. It also lets them know that I want to give them value. I want to make sure they get something good today. I want to be the one to make sure they get what they want today. So that's in the beginning of a discovery call process.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And again, straight away you can feel the energy and the difference in that versus I don't know what are the boring batshit ones, but
hi, how are you? How was your day?
Yeah. What can I help you with? Which is nearly as bad as the retail person that says, hello, can I help you with something? And we all just default to say, no, I'm just looking.
Right. None of us want that to be, on the other side of the shoe. And here's the other thing for those coaches or consultants who are listening in. If you do these complimentary or low-cost discovery calls as part of your process, have them fill out a questionnaire or an intake form in advance. It serves two purposes. Purpose number one is it actually gets them thinking more focused about what it is that they want. So they come to the call knowing that we're doing business here. We're not chit-chatting. They know there's a purpose for it. The second thing it does, it saves you time. So tell me about your business. Do you have a website? Tell me what kind of challenges you're experiencing. What are some of the things you'd like to get out of it? You take 15 minutes in a discovery call doing that when you can get it on a form ahead of time and dive right in. So people complain, oh, I don't have enough time. I just saved you 15 minutes on every single appointment.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. And I love the way that you phrase that, because it helps them and you be focused, but also prepared. You get to be prepared in the way you need to help serve them, and they get prepared in that they are there to have a proper, what I'm going to call a proper conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
So is there anything else, just as we start to close in the light, we've got still a few minutes, anything that you would like to express or invite people as it relates to the One Philosophy or the People Skills Academy?
Yes. So get the book. It's really, really good. And it's a tiny little book. I have one right here. So here's the most recent edition that I just released, and it's thin. So people say, oh my gosh, it's such a little book. And yeah, I made a small book because most people could read it. And guess what else? The truth doesn't need a whole lot of words.
Brilliant.
So grab the book at theonephilosophy.com. And if you'd like some, support and be better equipped in your people skills as you meet all the many interesting people that are placed in your path, just go to thepeopleskillsacademy.com. And you can, there's a button there for you to sign up, and I give you some practice tools to get you going.
Yeah, beautiful. And just as a bit of a recap, and I'll share the ones that I've jotted down in my busyness here. And please,
you're so awesome.
And please fill any that I miss. So some of the daily practices for success, because I love sharing and modeling off other people's success systems, is the habit of journaling, both the good and the bad, but also journaling with some very, very specific intentions. So what are you bringing into your world in that day, in that moment?
Can I give a quick tip on that?
Yeah, please.
When you notice that you're actually writing down things that don't feel good, you're complaining about, and just notice what you're doing is focusing on all the things you do not want. Look at that list and see if you can, how can I turn this around? Well, if that's what I don't want, nobody's showing up on my team and they're not doing, well, what do you want? Oh, I want people to show up on time. I want just become aware when you're writing down those things that don't feel good, and then see if you can switch it, and it'll shift your experience.
Yeah, very much so, which ties back into the question that you ask so often is what do you want to bring into your life? So that's how you again a great question to bridge and transform those energies and perspectives. So brilliant, thank you. Be curious about other people so you can then demonstrate your care. I heard for me that it's about being curious first so you can then care. It may be care then curious. For me, it sort of sounds as though it's that way around for me. I love the intake form, and that's not a word that we actually use, I don't think, very much here in Australia. We call it a survey, and nobody likes doing surveys because they always take too long. So I think that intake form is a really nice phrasing. And true leaders develop daily, which is one of the quotes from John Maxwell.
John Maxwell, yeah. And you do that because leadership happens in the moment.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
We do still have a couple of minutes, so we actually recapped quite quickly. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience? How can they, for those that, sorry, I'll let you answer that. And then I'm also, for those that have got as excited as I have as it relates to the One Philosophy and really showing up as that being the one for others, how can they help create the ripple effects?
So get the principles, and when you go to theonephilosophy.com, you can actually get a free download of the 6 principles and start living them, start sharing them. There is a Facebook page called The One Philosophy. So we post in there, we share stories about the one. So every time you have an experience where you got to be the one for somebody or somebody got to be the one for you, opening a car door. My sister delivered stools. I needed stools for my new house in my kitchen. And my sister's like, I have these. Do you want them? I'm like, yeah. Like, it's everywhere. Yeah. Be the one for others. Kind words, doing things for people that you know they can't do. Just get out there and be the one. Give first. Be the cause and trust that the effect follows. And that's probably the biggest step that we've all got to learn is like, I can give. I'm gonna get back. It's okay. I can give. That's that abundance and practice. So go to the One Philosophy business page on Facebook, share your stories, invite other people, and let's all be the one to change the world.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you very, very much, Nancy. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on board and sharing so much of your wisdom with us today. Can I ask you also, just as we've just got about 3 minutes left, to share a little bit also about the Women's Prosperity Network, because that was how I first met you.
Yes.
As a phenomenal group of women that are changing the world in their own special ways.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. And I was hoping we get to talk about that. So Women's Prosperity Network is a community for impact-focused women to serve more people, to increase their impact and amplify their income, amplify both of those things. I think there's a lot of synergy between our passions and our desires. And so just go to womensprosperitynetwork.com. We bring our community together in a variety of ways. And we'd love to have you come play with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And even though it's called Women's Prosperity Network and is predominantly women, there is often some very special men within the community as well. So I must mention that, particularly as Peter's on the call today, because that would be something very special for him. And it was created by yourself and your two sisters.
Yes.
So share that story very quickly.
So in 2008, we created Women's Prosperity Network. So it's myself. I'm the youngest in the family. My sister Trish is next in line, and then my sister Susan. And we were seeking back in in 2008, there weren't as many women's organizations as there are today. There were many. But we wanted to create a continuing community of support that would bridge together those really great seminars that we go to with the support to carry through what you got excited about at the event. Because I think most people have had some experience of, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Yeah. And then Monday comes. So we want to be there on Monday. Particularly, we want to be there on Wednesday. So every Wednesday morning, we do a show called Wow Wednesday. And did I have you on Wow? I think I did, right? Oh, no.
No, we did.
I did a podcast.
We did something different.
Yeah. So I'd love to have you on Wow. I'm saying it. So let's make that happen.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. So I'll just share in closing my experience was I found, and I don't even know how I found. Oh no, I got referred in through one of my connections on LinkedIn. Daryl, that's right. I met Trish, and then it ended up becoming part of the community from a networking perspective. So during the pandemic, obviously most of us were networking online. I found the community of women and have tapped into that. But the level of, I'm going to use the word care, the level of care and connection that occurs at those virtual networking in the way that you facilitate the virtual networking, which is now very, very much global, has been an extraordinary experience for me. So I just wanted to make sure we had the opportunity to share that.
Awesome. So glad it serves you well.
Thank you. It does.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing the One Philosophy, the People Academy, and of course, Women's Prosperity Network. It's been an absolute pleasure. For those that are part of the community here, please reach out to Nancy. We've had the information in the way that you can do that going across the ticker. And of course, that'll be up on all of our social media sites as well. Thank you very much, Roxy, who's just popped that up. Well done. And we will wish everybody to the opportunity to create their own ripple effects for themselves, their business and their community by demonstrating exemplary behavior as being the one. So thank you very, very much, Nancy. And
my
I look forward
pleasure.
to sharing with you again very, very soon.
Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. And we will look forward to seeing you next week for another show of Success Secrets Exposed. Take care.
That's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining us. I trust you got some inspirational tips to move you forward. See you next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern for more Success Secrets Exposed.